No regrets, am I right? Or is there more to it? Well, on this episode of the Emotional Fitness Podcast, we're going to be talking exactly about that, regrets, and the power of them. This is sparked because I recently listened to the book by Daniel H. Pink about the power of regret. And I thought how wonderful it was and the lessons there that we could be missing out on as a culture. So, where did that term come from? Well, there is a big history between no regrets. But for modern day culture, it comes from Meet the Millers, the movie. And it is a wonderful, funny movie. I suggest everybody watch. But Mikey P has the tattoo across his chest saying no regrets, and he spelled it wrong. He put an A where there should have been an E, which is quite comical. However, our culture recently has really adopted this and pushed it to, I think, a point that isn't helpful. To a point where we're missing the value, missing the power of regret. And that's what Daniel H. Pink talks about in the book. Because if we were to regret absolutely nothing, we wouldn't learn anything. And how do we learn things? We learn things by making mistakes. And associated with that mistake is going to be some pain. And so the idea that we never regret anything, it lends to the methodology of taking those emotions that we have and feeling bad about things and stuffing them away or casting them aside and not actually feeling them, which we know doesn't help. As I said before in other podcasts, if we take that emotion and we bottle it up and we don't move that energy, it amplifies and it gets bigger. So that phrase lends and feeds into that mentality of pushing things aside, in my opinion. We've all regretted things in the past. We've all regretted things that we've done and wish we didn't do them. And if you're one of those people saying, no, I have never, everything I've done, never regretted. I'm sure if we dug deeper, there'd be a few things that you wish you didn't do. And that's why you learn them. For example, a small regret of mine was about a year ago, I got a speeding ticket while driving between cities, and I was on the highway passing somebody. I can say that, well, I never regretted that, but I did. It was a bad idea. I didn't need to pass that person, and then I got a ticket for it, and I had to pay. So that's an example, just of a small regret that, yes, I could push that aside, or I could learn from it and realize, you know what, I didn't need to be speeding there. That wasn't necessary. So looking at regret, and this is what they talk about in the book, The Power of Regret, is looking at regret in 4 different categories. So 1 being action and inaction. So action being the one and inaction being the other side. So is it a regret that you took action or didn't take action? And this is going to help you categorize regrets. And I'm going to go into it later why it's super important. So 1, when you're looking at your regrets in your life, was it something you took action with or didn't take action with? That's kind of the first category there. And the second category, is it something that you had control over or no control over? When they do studies, and in the book he talks about all different studies and people that have shared their feelings on this, you can break down all your regrets into those categories, and there's going to be some overlap, things that you didn't take action and had control over, or things you didn't take action and no control over. Let's say deciding not to bet on a Super Bowl. You have no control over the outcome and you didn't bet. Your regret towards that is going to be generally a lot smaller versus inaction and something you had control over. Very rarely in the studies did they find that people that took action had regrets with it, even if they had control over it, especially if they had no control over it. So what my suggestion for you is to break down your regrets in your life. Write them down, and I'll share some of mine, and see if there's any common things when you look at your regrets. Is this stuff that you, or regrets that you have not taken action, or that you did take action? And are there regrets that you had control over in your life? So for example, connecting with friends, or amending things with your parents or your siblings that you have control over. Or is it things that you didn't have control over? So for myself, I made a list of some of my regrets. And they're interesting, the common theme there, because this will help you make decisions moving forward, which is so powerful. And that's the missing tool in this. So for myself, when I was coming out of high school, I really wanted to play football moving out of high school. And so my plan was to go play down in the States because I loved American football. I regret it because I didn't take SATs. I literally planned for them. I prepped for them. I took courses, extra courses to prep for them. And when the day came to write the SAT, because that's what was required to go down to the States, at least at the time, I didn't take the SAT. I regret it because I did not take action and I had control over it. Does that mean that I would have played down there? No, but I didn't take the shot. And that sits with me. It's also something now that I've learned to use, because anytime now I have a scenario where I have control and I'm not taking action, I need to do something about it, because that I know I will regret later. Another regret of mine was when I was playing football. So after that, I decided not to go to the States, or when I didn't take the SATs, and I ended up playing football in the Okanagan for the Okanagan Sun. And during my 3 years there, I had this belief, for whatever reason, that I had to be a certain age, that I could play well when, or play well if. I could play well if I was one of the older players, or I would play well on my third or fourth or fifth year. That's when I would play well. Like in my head, I created this story. And so what that did is, one, it was a limiting belief, and two, I had control over that. Yes, I couldn't control how other people played, but I could control how I played. And I didn't take as much action, at least during practices, that I think now I could have. And that's something I regret. That's something that I look back and learn from and sit with it and be a little bit frustrated, be a little bit angry maybe with myself, and think, I could have taken a better shots. I could have played better, or at least put in more than I did then. A third regret of mine, and again I have more, but this is just 3 I wanted to share with you, is not standing up for myself in my past relationship. And I know a lot of you guys can relate, maybe guys, maybe girls can relate, whoever, that not standing up for myself, and worse, allowing other people to treat me a way I didn't want to be treated. And that's something I regret. And looking back at it, all 3 of those scenarios, it was something that I could control the outcome, and I didn't take action. And that's why they were my biggest regrets. Because I didn't do something about it, and I could have. And so thankfully, some of those now I can do something about it. Now moving forward, I can make sure that people treat me a certain way in relationships, or I just end those relationships. Thankfully, I'm in an amazing relationship now, and it's wonderful because I've learned from that regret. I've learned from that experience. But looking at your regrets is my suggestion for you. Looking at regrets and writing them down, really being honest and true with yourself, and categorizing them. Is this something that I didn't take action, or is it an action that I took that I regret later? And is it something that I had complete control over and can adjust and change now, or is it something that I can't anymore? Depending on the situation, sometimes it's things that you can't control anymore, like wishing you would have appreciated a friend when they were around more. I think just thinking about this now, because I didn't even write it down, was a good buddy of mine passed away when I was 18. And I regret now not telling them how powerful and how much of an impact he had in my life when he was around. And I can't do anything about it now because he's gone. But he had a huge impact in my life because he's somebody that believed in me. And so I regret not taking action, and now I have no control over it because he's gone. And so for myself, what I learned from each of these things, that's the key, is learning from them. It's not saying that you don't have regrets. It's that you have regrets and that you're learning from them. And that's helping you shape who you are now. So now when I have somebody that is in my life, and I do my best, I don't always do it as best as I possibly could, but somebody's in my life that I appreciate and that I look up to or learn from or value in one way or another, I do my best to let them know. Do my best to let them know how powerful they were and are to me, how much of an impact they're happening. And maybe that's a lesson for you, is there somebody that's in your life right now that you haven't said, hey, I actually really appreciate you a lot, and I haven't said it before. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being my parent, my brother, my sister, whoever it is. Thank you for being who you are. And so my solution for you is this. Is one, as I said before, write down those regrets and look at them. And is there something you can do about them now? Or rather, one, did you learn from that? And if you haven't yet, what can you learn from that past regret? Because now you're turning that negative experience into potentially a positive experience to change your life now moving forward. So can you learn from that regret? Can you make changes now in your life based on those things you made before, those decisions and choices you made before? And a really powerful phrase that I really like to adopt is, imagine myself being 80 years old now, would I regret telling my best friend that I really appreciate him, I love him for who he is? Or would I regret taking that business venture and taking that shot there? Or would I regret taking that trip with my wife and my kids? And if you can answer no to that, then you just do it. And you find a way to do it. And I'm saying this to you not only, it's less of you, but for myself, to continue to do those things and to continue to take action like that. And if it's something that you're not sure of, then maybe it's not a big enough question, right? Maybe it's something that doesn't require that much thought, like where to go for dinner or what movie to watch. Those things you're not going to regret. Not in a big way. So hopefully you found this helpful. And if you are in a place right now where you're feeling those negative emotions and you're feeling like there's a lot of things you're regretting and you're not sure how to work through them, and maybe anxiety and stress are getting to you, I would encourage you to reach out, because at the end of this week I'll be launching the Emotional Fitness course. I'm super excited about this course. It's going to be a 6-week program, video series that we're going to work through together, and we're going to be communicating weekly to work on and to move through how you think and how you can change your life for the better, working through your subconscious programming and your master system and different ways that your brain thinks to help you become a better version of yourself, because that's why I'm here on this earth, is to help you become the best version of yourself. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode.